Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
Okay, so Old Man Coffee is under the gun and he opens to 30. And he has not played a hand yet. I think he's been at the table for about an hour. I look down in the cutoff, fold to me. I look down at Queen of Clubs, Queen of Diamonds in the cutoff, and I flat call.
Is this guy that tight? Oh, by the way, too, there's also this dynamic. There's going to be there's going to be an interesting hand that I played pretty, I mean, whatever. I don't want to be results oriented, but I probably should have folded from last night where, the stakes matter with ranges and things like that. I lost a big pot last night in a single raise pot with an overpair versus a set, which is, for me, is kind of a little bit ridiculous. But, and I posted this up on the forums from today, like the stakes change the way that people play, even if they're the same player. So I always talk about here, I don't know how often the straddle is going on, but if it's just an occasional straddle, people tend to play a little bit more passively, I feel like.
Yeah, I'd say
And the
that's
ranges are
accurate for the
sort of
games I'm in.
the ranges are sort of tight. So you're on the button, right?
No, I'm in the cutoff.
Oh, in the cutoff. Okay. I mean, I think this is okay if you do it partially. The later position that you are, the more you could flat here with queens. Um, Queens probably benefits from like three betting, I think, like mid position versus this particular, like versus UTG. Sounds to me like you think this guy's just really tight, huh?
I think he's really tight, and there's a secondary thought to it. The guy that straddled on the button is kind of the fish in the game, and he's stuck.
Okay.
And I know that if I'm three betting, I'm kind of isolating him out of the pot because I don't think he's cold call. Like, let's say I'm three betting to 90 or somewhere in that size. I don't think he's cold calling with a lot of hands, but I think he's definitely defending his straddle with like everything.
Yeah. I mean, queens isn't necessarily the best hand to do that with. I mean, like because of obviously the overcards, but okay. So you call queen of spades, queen of clubs?
Queen of clubs, queen of diamonds.
Okay. So you flat. Does the button call too?
Button calls and the small blind and big blind both fold, so it's three ways to the flop.
Okay.
Okay, the flop is jack of spades, eight of diamonds, four of clubs.
So I can already tell that we're going to see some awkward shit here because you're playing 550 effective at 2-5-10, right? Guy is only actually open to 3x, but right away here it's multi-way, right? So the pot's like 100, and you have what, like 520 left. So I mean, once it goes like bet call, you're going to be you're going to have like one pot size bet. It's going to be weird for sure. Jack of spades, eight of diamonds, four of clubs.
Right.
Yep.
So Old Man Coffee leads for 45. I think about the same kind of thought process I had pre-flop, where if I'm going to raise, I'm going to kind of isolate the guy on the button out. So I flat. But obviously, you can go both ways. You can make arguments for both. You're obviously never folding. That's out of the question.
No, you're never. You're definitely never folding. I just question like. It's sort of weird because queens does need a if OMC is not going to bluff anymore, you are sometimes vulnerable to some overcards. That's not a huge consideration in this particular hand, and you wonder like if you raise like, does he have ace jack? Is he going to call with ace jack? I mean, is he going to call with tens?
If I raise he like shoves, then I have to fold pretty much. I don't really know what I'm beating. So I flat, and the button ends up calling as well. So we're still three ways. I think the pot's like I want to say like 230, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Turn is the five of clubs. OMC checks. So now, obviously, it's on me, and I'm super confident that he has absolutely nothing. Because why would he not lead again if he had like what I would be slightly worried about, like aces, kings?
It would seem that the five is a pretty big blank. That most decent. I mean, people shouldn't really be checking over pairs here on this card.
Right.
Yeah.
So he checks. I bet 115.
Okay.
Button calls.
Yeah.
And OMC folds.
So now the pot is what, 460? Is that about right? 460.
Yeah, 230 and 230. Yeah, something like that.
And you've got what, like 360 left, somewhere around there.
Started with 550, and I've put in how much?
150.
I put in 160. I put in 190. So yeah.
Or
something
three
like that.
seven,
About like
three
three.
seventy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
call it 350. It's fine. It doesn't. It's pretty similar, anyways.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you what you think of like my turn sizing. You think I should bet a little bit bigger?
I think that that's fine. I don't think you want to blast a jack off of the hand. Like I said, the five is pretty disconnected here. Um, I would certainly be aware of backdoor clubs coming in, as the
Mm-hmm.
distribution would be like Jack X and 8X of clubs possible.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there are a fair amount of straight draws that could pick up clubs in the form of 9-10, 7-9. Can't be 5-6 now, right? Because it's paired, but 9-10, you have the queen of clubs in your hand, so it can't be queen 10 that has picked up clubs, but 9-10 of clubs, 8X of clubs, and Jack X of clubs. If you tell me like the river is like a low club, like a three or a deuce, it's probably going to be very, very close because of the fact that like I'd have to start to count and think about like is this guy defending with all the offsuit broadways where he has all the jacks and is he going to call? Um, and against a lot of like sort of bad players, that is true, and you can sometimes even make a super exploitable bet fold. I'm not sure with these stack sizes, but it can certainly get sticky. That's for sure. What happened? So
Mm-hmm.
what's the river here?
The river is the ace of spades.
Ace of spades. Okay, that's not bad at all. The ace is a very disconnected card here in the sense that he really now can only the ace really only I think connects with him in the form of like him having like ace 8 of clubs. You know, that's one hand, maybe ace jack of clubs. I mean, he really shouldn't have anything else that the ace makes besides ace jack, obviously. So I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
sort of losing to the ace jacks and you're losing to ace 8. Um but then again, like, so I'm trying to think, like, are there draws that have missed here that you might check and call? This one's really close. I don't think this is probably going to be a bet. You've got, what, three-quarters of a pot-sized bet left. This is an interesting one because, like, it could be, like, a skill level of the player. Like, I could go either way with this. Like, against really, really bad players who I still think will call down with a jack and they don't know what's going on because you bet the whole time, especially on the ace, I might bet, to be honest with you, and get called by a jack,
Mm-hmm.
like bet small. I could see checking to some players and checking to check fold, sometimes checking to check call. If you check, you're really only going to get bet at by like ace 8 and ace jack, and the ace really shouldn't fit into the guy's hand all that much, but if the guy's not really bluffing, then a lot of times he has it. So 370 and the
Okay.
pot's like 460, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I could
Yeah.
I could sort of see all three options here. How bad is this guy on the button? This is the
He's
question.
not terrible. Like
Uh,
I shouldn't say he's like incompetent or anything. He's just an action player and he's stuck. So I mean, I'm making like general assumptions that
yeah.
he's just never folding his button straddle, regardless of what he has. So
Mhm.
he can have pretty much anything here
Well, the
going
other,
to the river.
by
Like
the way,
all his
so
combos.
so yeah, I was gonna say the other straight draw actually that I looked at, like if he's completing with 9-10 off, 7-9 is a gut shot that turns a double gutter here too. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
players miss that, but if he's really that wide and he has those hands, he actually could have a full 32 combos of busted straight draws in the form of 9-10 and 7-9.
Mm-hmm.
If you think he's going to blast off with those as a check
Mm-hmm.
call, you know.
So before I tell you what happens on the river, once I'm done with the hand, I'm going to tell you what the consensus was basically at the table, because you know people like to give their, like, even if you're not talking about it, they like to give 2 cents about the hand and just whatever. So let me just throw that in before you move on to the next caller. So the river I end up checking.
Okay.
He shoves for 302.
So he button shoves.
So he actually had a little bit less than me. My effective stack was based on Old Man Coffee, I think. So he shoves the river.
So you're getting like what, like 760 for 300, like 2.5 to 1 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, again, like I'd look at it and I'd say, well, you know, does he have all those hands? Do we think that he's going to shove with all? So say for example, like this is how you do this too in terms of like a bluff ratio combo, and it's not a perfect science because you don't necessarily know how often he would do it. But let's just go through this from a logical perspective and say that he has 16 bluffs on the river. We said that he would probably have 32 combos of straight draws, right? If we think that that's the case. And maybe he doesn't have quite that many, or maybe he bluffs with half of them at the end. So he's got 16. The value combos are really like ace jack, right? Which is like 12 combos. Ace eight of clubs is like 13. Um, and I don't know if he always shoves with all of those particular hands. I got to tell you, if you think he's really that wide on the button pre-flop, there seems to be like, I would probably say there's like equal value to equal bluffs here, and you're getting 2.5 to 1 as long as he doesn't have. So when you get 2.5 to 1 in pot odds here, as long as he doesn't have 2.5 times more value. So in order for this to be a fold, he would have to have like, 9, or like say he would have to have 10 value hands and like only 4 bluffs. You see what I'm saying? Like that would be a break even point.
Yeah.
Because you're getting 2.5 to 1. So I think the river is rather polar. I think you probably would call thinking this one through, getting this price.
What do you think of him? Do you think this kind of player is ever raising like an ace-jack type of hand on the turn, or even on the flop at some point, or do you think he's always just getting to the river like as played?
I mean, you got this OMC guy, UTG, c-betting the flop, and you call. The board's not super draw heavy. I mean, are people like raising ace-jack there after it goes bet call?
I'm thinking more likely on the turn. I think it's unlikely that he's raising the flop with ace-jack, but I think on the turn, when it goes check bet to him, I mean, in that spot,
with just one pair, I mean, you're betting. Remember, but you're showing. I mean, this is all a guess, right? That we're making, but I'm just coming at you from the other side of why I think probably not. Like, you called the OMC bet on the pre-flop, right, from under the gun. You called the flop bet, right, and now you're betting the turn after he overcalled on the flop. I just don't know if people are just going buck wild with ace jack there.
Yeah,
you know
that's true. The overcall kind of.
Yeah.
And then I'm leading the turn.
Yeah.
Just kind of look
into two people. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think about it for, I wouldn't say too long, maybe about 30 seconds, and I basically convinced myself that I'm only losing really to like ace jack, ace eight, and I can't really think of any other value hands. That
I guess he could slow some people.
With.
Some people in the chat are. I said 12 combos. It's 9 combos of ace jack. Excuse me. Because it's 3 and 3, right? 3 times 3. And then just really only one combo of ace eight of clubs. Some people are saying he could slow play like 6-7. Like if he calls, if he has all the 6-7 offs, and then slow plays them a lot on the turn. I mean, the thing is that okay, there's 16 6-7s, combos of 6-7s, right? How often is he overcalling with the bottom end of the ass end of the straight? Even if he were to do
That's
that,
what I was thinking
even
too.
if he were to do
I
that,
6-7 was unlikely.
even if he were to do that half the time, this is how you get to conditional logic combo work, right? Like even if he were to do that half the time, now you have 8 combos of 6-7. Now we have to go to the turn, and how often is he flatting? 6-7. Even if he's doing that half the time, it's still only like another 4 combos. 9 ace jacks, 1 ace eight of clubs. Okay, 4 6-7s is 14. And then maybe some people are saying maybe some 4-5, but I don't know if he even, overcalls with that. I just like, if he's got even like 10 bluffs here, I just don't think he has enough value to not call.
So I ended up basically agreeing with everything you just said, and I ended up calling. And he has Jack 10 offsuit.
Jack 10 offsuit.
So he has a pair of jacks.
So he's
I win the hand.
Turning his hand into a bluff, basically.
I guess so. I guess that's what his thinking was on the river. So before you move on, let me just tell you really quickly, and then I can listen to what you have to say.
Okay.
The table kind of thought that it was a hero call. Like a few guys at the table were saying like, "Oh, nice call," and then another guy was kind of like, "Oh, well, that's a really good hero call." And I don't really talk too much when I'm playing, but I was kind of thinking in my head similar to what you were saying, that like he doesn't have very many value combos, so I don't think it's a hero call at all.
Well, I mean, listen, hero call is just like another term that somebody just made up, right? Like you just have to have a consensus on what is a hero call. I mean, yes, you're right. Like most people say like hero call, like you're calling with some sort of like very, very weak hand on like a scary run out. Normally, this one's sort of in between. I would still say it's I mean, it's kind of a hero call, but not that big of a hero call, I guess. Facing that bet, it should be very polar. Like I have no idea. I never would have considered him having that particular hand. It just doesn't make any
Yeah, it was
sense.
strange. And he opened his hand pretty confidently on the river too, and I just kind of thought to myself, like, did he expect to win?
I mean, it would make more sense if he had like King Jack. You know what I mean? And like he
Yeah,
somehow
yeah,
thought that like King Jack was the nuts there because you weren't checking Ace Jack. That makes more sense.
right.
But like Jack 10? Like what the fuck? That makes no sense at
Do you think?
all. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.